The great thing about them, no acting required once you've got those on. You just stand there and it all happens.
Slip into the role.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 controversial Broadway casting decisions.
I think ideally you go to theater to see ideas, you watch TV for characters, film for stories, but like theater you go to see ideas, just different PRs.
For this list, we'll be looking at casting choices throughout Broadway history that caused a stir for a variety of reasons. What's the craziest casting decision you've seen in theater? Be sure to share it with us in the comments below. Number 10. Only non-white performers in Hamilton. Lin-Manuel Miranda's magnum opus Hamilton is regarded as one of the most groundbreaking musical productions of all time, but that doesn't make it immune to controversy.
Colorblind casting is great, but you know what's better than colorblind casting? Roles that are actually written about you.
In March of 2016, a casting notice calling for, quote, non-white actors and actresses started making the rounds. The show's history of inclusion was marred by this casting notice and led to the Actors Equity Association, a stage actors union, taking action.
So it needs amendments.
The Actors Equity Association ultimately spoke out against the notice, stating that it was against their policies and the auditions should be open to performers of all races. The Hamilton team responded by updating the wording on the notice to reflect the union's policies.
And the most beautiful thing about it is because it's told by such a diverse cast with such diverse styles of music, we have the opportunity to reclaim a history that some of us don't necessarily think is our own.
Number 9. Rosie O'Donnell as Golda in Fiddler on the Roof. Rosie O'Donnell is known for her sense of humor and larger-than-life personality. Before tackling this role, the comedian made appearances in Grease and Seussical. When she took over the role of matriarch Golda after Andrea Martin's departure, reactions were mixed. O'Donnell clearly enjoyed playing the role and making it her own. Critics enjoyed her energy and her chemistry with lead Harvey Fierstein. However, others believed her singing voice lacked warmth and polish. Additionally, O'Donnell's attempt at a Yiddish accent was a questionable choice, especially since she was the only cast member who tried to include it in their performance.
Do you love me? Do I what? I miss you, honey.
Number 8. Melanie Griffith as Roxy Hart in Chicago. This show about the merry murderesses of Cook County Jail has had quite a few stunt castings over its many years on Broadway, but this particular one is remembered as one of the most divisive.
And Broadway's newest leading lady, Melanie Griffith.
Mr. Billy Flynn sings the press conference rag. Notice how his mouth never moves. Almost.
As the show's lead, there's no room to hide lack of vocal or dancing ability.
It's so defensible.
Some critics panned Griffith's turn as Roxy, but others said the role suited her well as a stage debut. Despite some criticisms of her voice and dancing, Griffith's run was entertaining, and she revitalized interest in the show.
Are you kidding?
Hey!
What's your statement?
All I say is, come my choo-choo jump the track. I give my life to bring him back.
This particular stunt casting ultimately paid off for the show's producers and created plenty of buzz. Number 7. Disagreements Surrounding All My Sons. Revivals of classic shows can breathe new life into them and revitalize them for modern audiences.
Is we're still asking the same questions.
Are we responsible only to ourselves and our family, or are we responsible to the community and the greater good?
Unfortunately, revivals of beloved plays and musicals can also cause rifts in the community. During casting for the Broadway revival of Arthur Miller's All My Sons, director Gregory Mosher wanted to cast actors of color in the roles of siblings George and Anne.
He asked me to tell you, and I think it's a good idea. Certainly.
When auditions were underway, Miller's estate disagreed with Mosher's decision to cast actors of color in the roles of the siblings. The estate suggested colorblind casting instead, which led to Mosher leaving the production. The revival was ultimately cast with a colorblind approach and received 3 Tony nominations.
I know you're no worse than most men, but I thought you were better.
Number 6. Andrew Lloyd Webber fires Patti LuPone from Sunset Boulevard. Andrew Lloyd Webber's musicals have had no shortage of casting controversies. After all, in 2012, Ricky Martin's turn as Che in Evita was torn apart by critics. However, the most controversial decision came straight from ALW himself. When Lloyd Webber's Sunset Boulevard debuted in London, Patti LuPone starred as Norma Desmond.
With one look I play every part.
Lupone and Lloyd Webber had previously worked together during Evita, and Lupone believed she would star in Sunset Boulevard when it transferred to Broadway.
So watch me fly, yes, we know I can do it.
However, ALW fired Lupone directly and replaced her with Glenn Close.
I know really nothing about that. I don't know what her deal was.
Lupone sued the composer for more than $1 million, and their feud lasted for more than 2 decades. Although they appear to have made amends, this decision and its fallout made waves across the theater community. Number 5. Nonbinary Erasure in Jagged Little Pill. Despite the theater community's attempts to be inclusive, there are still plenty of missteps and nonsensical decisions when it comes to representation.
Jo is a really cool queer teenager, but is also a super vulnerable time in her life. She's really actively exploring her relationship to queerness, her relationship to her gender expression, what all that means for her.
The off-Broadway production of Southern Comfort cast a cisgender actress in its transgender leading role, while only casting transgender actors in minor roles. Sadly, this incident was not isolated. When Jagged Little Pill premiered at American Repertory Theater, the character Jo was written to be non-binary, despite being played by a cisgender actress.
I'm sick, but I'm pretty, baby. And what it all boils down to is that no one's really got it figured out just yet.
After the musical's Broadway transfer, references to Jo being non-binary were erased, causing even further controversy. The show's producers eventually apologized, but these incidents bring light to the disappointing lack of opportunities and representation for trans and non-binary actors.
We are in the middle of a reckoning in our industry, and first and foremost, I want to thank my trans and non-binary friends and colleagues who have engaged with me in difficult conversations and have joined me in dialogue about my character Jo.
Number 4. Lea Michele as Fanny Brice in Funny Girl. There's no question about Michelle's talent, but her reputation for being rude and difficult to work with has made her a controversial figure in the theater community. Despite her very public, years-long audition for the role of Fanny Brice, Michele was not cast in the revival of Funny Girl. Instead, Beanie Feldstein was cast in the lead.
You know, Fanny, the character of Fanny Brice and the person that was Fanny Brice, she was just unrelenting, unapologetic, of just like, I know I can do this. Like, get out of my way, give me the opportunity, open the door for me. I am a star, I can be this person you don't believe I can be.
While Feldstein's comic timing and likable demeanor made her a great fit, critics stated that her singing voice lacked power and polish.
When you're gifted, then you're gifted. These are facts, I got no act to grind. Hey, what are they, blind?
They panned the show, and only a few months after its premiere, Feldstein announced that she was stepping away. Shortly after, Michelle was announced as the new Fanny, leading people to wonder if the production pushed out Feldstein for Michelle.
Hey, Mr. Unseen, here I am.
Once again, Glee has managed to predict the future.
Someday they'll clamor for my drama. Have you guessed yet? Who's the best yet?
Number 3. Amar Ramazar as Bernardo in West Side Story. As evidenced by the Me Too movement, the entertainment industry is full of corrupt people who sweep sexual misconduct allegations under the rug.
The crowd outside the new revival of West Side Story on Broadway are not fans, they're protesting one of the musical's lead actors.
As a principal dancer at the New York City Ballet, Amar Ramazar dazzled audiences. However, in 2018, Ramazar was fired from the ballet after sexual misconduct allegations surfaced. Although the allegations were proven to be true, some believe the punishment was too extreme, and he was reinstated.
New York City Ballet terminated those male dancers as a result, but their decision was challenged by the dancers' union, and the ballet was forced to reinstate them.
When Ramazar was cast in the 2020 revival of West Side Story, people were outraged.
Also cut from this production,
I feel pretty, oh so pretty.
I feel pretty and witty and gay.
Protesters surrounded the theater during previews, and thousands signed online petitions calling for his dismissal. But the show's producers stood by their decision to cast Ramazar. Regardless, the revival was ultimately cut short by the COVID-19 pandemic. Number 2. Mandy Patinkin as Pierre in Natasha, Pierre and the Great Comet of 1812. As an adaptation of a 70-page excerpt from War and Peace, this musical was nothing short of ambitious. Its creative staging and unusual source material made it a critical darling. However, after Josh Groban left the production, the musical struggled financially, despite the incredible performance of Groban's replacement Okariete Onaldawan. In an attempt to sell more tickets, the producers brought in legendary performer Mandy Patinkin, cutting Onaldawan's time as Pierre short.
You've originated roles before, a lot of them. This is not originating a role, this is a Josh Groban in the role.
You know, I've never jumped into a moving train.
Yes.
So it's like everyone's like, we've been doing this for a while. And I'm like, guys, this is like my preview. But nobody cares.
The decision sparked a fire of outrage across social media, with many questioning if the move was racially motivated.
This is a big role, and one that we've been told takes months to prepare for, and you've had several weeks.
I have only had 2.5 weeks so far. I have about two more weeks, and then wish me luck.
Unaware of the circumstances of his casting, Patinkin withdrew from the show before he even took the stage, and the production closed only a few weeks later due to the controversy. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Jonathan Pryce as the engineer in Miss Saigon. As we have discussed, the powers that be in the theater world have a nasty habit of casting well-known actors in roles they shouldn't be playing. The plot of Miss Saigon is divisive, with many calling the show racist and misogynistic.
What a waste to pay for my keep. I'm rounding up sheep to fleece here and back.
In the original West End production, white actor Jonathan Pryce wore bronzing makeup and facial prosthetics in his role of the engineer.
You've had to have special makeup for all this. You're not wearing it at the moment, obviously, but you've had to have
Just a little light street stuff.
When the show moved to Broadway, Pryce was nearly barred from the production because the Actors Equity Association believed that the role should be played by an Asian performer.
I was shocked, and I still am kind of numb about it, really. It's a decision we didn't expect them to make.
Eventually, the show debuted on Broadway with Pryce still in the role, sans makeup and prosthetics.
It's time we all entertain my American dream.
Miss Saigon sparked protests in New York and remains a controversial piece of musical theater to this day. Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.